This is the interesting contrast between your book and Chomsky's latest book, which is about climate change and which essentially says don't panic. We can take care of this if we spend something like $15 trillion over the next 20 years. This will go away. We'll solve the problem, and then we can go back to struggle. Then we can go back to fighting, for fighting for communism. And your book,
but we have to fight now. That's my only difference.
Right.
No, the only way to really prevent global warming catastrophe is to change the system now. You see, I don't accept this logic of now we are dealing with a real problem, COVID, pandemic, or global warming, or whatever, and let's forget about higher. No, things are happening now. This reset capitalism and so on, Trump, they are all already answers from the other side to this. And also, but you know what's not clear with me? Although he attacked me brutally many times, I have a great respect for nonetheless for Chomsky.
As do we.
Same.
Yeah, it's not clear for me again, as both of you, I think, already said today. So what does it amount to? What would he have done today? It's too easy to say, okay, now relief, the worst is over, we have Biden, but what to do now to prevent a new Trump coming? I think that Biden, for me, only means now it's the time to really fight. We should avoid this typically liberal fascination of you have the devil there, Trump, and let's just fight that. No, if I may use that stupid phrase, I think coined by Clinton, which was quite manipulative. Be tough on the crime, but be tough also on the causes of crime. It meant more praise. But my point would be, yes, be tough on Trump, but be also tough on the causes of Trump. What brought Trump in?
Yeah, I think that's so important to say, because there is an aspect of it, and it's not the most important thing, but it does feel like you're getting gaslit often. That you're being, especially in the lead up to the election, there was such an intolerance for any acknowledgement of the way the compromises we've made enabled Trump, created Trump.
Yeah, that's the crucial question for me.
Yeah, and people liked to say, well, of course, it's not enough to get rid of Trump. We also have to do a lot to fix the country. But they would say that as a platitude, and there would never be a substantive conversation about what it looked like to fix the country. And there was never, and to this day, there continues not to be a really substantive conversation about what it looks like to push Biden left. Are we talking about a general strike? What are labor leaders up to right now in this moment? If AOC were to take the stand and hold up the Pelosi vote in order to extract concessions, would she have the support of major activist groups who could lead protests in the streets, lead protests in front of Congress people's offices or homes that don't vote, that don't support Medicare for all or these other kinds of programs that people desperately need right now in this crisis? Those conversations, we're trying to have them on this podcast, and I don't mean to pretend to know what's going on in every, labor meeting in America, but it is frustrating that, okay, Donald Trump has been defeated, Biden, election has been secure for weeks. Where are these conversations? Where is everybody who said they were going to be protesting day one? And it starts to seem obvious that those were platitudes intended to make us eat our garlic. With no intention that there's a yummy blood meal coming our way.
Sorry, guys, we've eaten enough of garlic. Now it's time to. Because I really think, but again, I'm not saying because of some leftist pride or whatever radicality, but my God, are people not aware in what world we live, how many catastrophes are looming and so on? And the only solution I see is some kind of these basic things, global health care. We need some global agencies, not world government. A world government would get immediately mega corrupted, I think. But some kind of global coordination and so on. For example, if some parts are turning into desert now, desertification, if other parts like northern Siberia is getting warmer, ready for agriculture, it's clear that there will be large movements of maybe even hundreds, millions of people. How to organize this without new wars and so on and so on. We have to, this is why I think it's not enough, this self-satisfaction, okay, now we have Biden and so on. No, we just avoided one catastrophe, but nothing is really resolved, I think. Because also, as you, I think, said already before, it was clear when Sanders at the beginning of campaign Bernie posed a real threat to whoever it was there. It wasn't even at that point yet Biden, that the signal between the lines of many centrist Democrats was ultimately better Trump than Bernie.
Absolutely. And Bloomberg even was first offered as a stand-in. And honestly, it is very difficult to argue that Bloomberg is better than Trump. I mean, you can make the argument either way, but there's Bloomberg is such an evil, terrible man that the idea that all of these liberals who pretended to care about social justice issues, pretended to care about the rights of marginalized groups, Bloomberg led a war on Black and brown young people in New York, the likes of which is rarely matched across this country in terms of the stop and frisk and infringement on people's rights, mass policing. It was disgusting. And you saw how quickly, this is when I wrote an article about litmus tests and this question of should we hold Biden to any kind of standard, the Democrats to any kind of standard. And Bloomberg was kind of one of my crucial talking points. If you're willing to support Bloomberg, that obviously means that what you care about with Trump, what the problem you have with Trump is largely aesthetic and not principle.
That's a precise notion. Yeah.
And what does it mean for the Democratic Party if it's willing to admit that it only is an aesthetic party that cares about a more diverse and more polite version of the exact same thing? In that case, you can't tell me that vote blue no matter who makes any sense. Because it's not the lesser of two evils at that point. It's just a whole pot of evils and you're picking them out like a bingo game.
You cannot even imagine how much I agree with you. Yes, these are crucial things today. Again, the left has to take some risks today. Otherwise, it will just be forced in the not so far future, a couple of years, to begin from the 0 point, because things are gradually accumulating. I remember Occupy Wall Street. And then people said, you see, it disappeared, it was nothing. No, it was part of a long learning process.
Yes.
Occupy Wall Street, then Bernie Sanders, and so on. And even if Bernie lost now, something, in the politics, terms are important. Already for this, he deserves a monument as big as Lincoln's in Washington, Bernie, that he rendered the term socialism publicly acceptable. You cannot even imagine how, till a couple of years ago, this was simply a non-acceptable term.